Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Ed Podcast. I'm your host, Kamar DeJarnett. I'm flying solo today. Got a great guest with us, the dynamic, charismatic, I can tell from just talking to him for a little bit, Dr. Roger Davis. How are you, my friend?
I am doing great. Coming to you from Western Pennsylvania. I'm a Ravens fan living in Steelers country. Very dangerous. So yeah.
Very, very dangerous. That's funny. And everybody's betting on Baltimore to still win the division, even though they've had a slow start, which
Very
is
slow.
testament.
Yeah. Very slow.
Well, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our audience. Maybe give them kind of your origin story.
Yeah.
How'd you get here? How you get so successful?
Thank you. I am currently the president of the Community College of Beaver County, in Western Pennsylvania, just 35 minutes from Pittsburgh. I am, and probably 5 to 10 minutes from the Ohio line. So we are the most Western community college out of the 15 community colleges in Pennsylvania, and we serve as the third smallest community college, but probably doing some of the most dynamic and incredible work of the 15.
Sure.
I am the first African American president here in the college's 60-year history. I'm going on my end of my seventh year as president. I've been here almost a decade in Beaver County, and it's been very exciting. I have a career where I worked in nonprofit, for-profit, 2-year, 4-year, public,
Wow.
research one institutions. I have kind of been all over. I've worked for SUNY, the State University of New York.
Yeah.
I worked in Atlanta, Georgia for a for-profit institution. I have been in the University of Maryland Global Campus, the largest institution on the East Coast. And so I have a plethora of experiences, and it's been just very exciting to be leading this institution at this time, as it's an institution that really is, I think, coming out of its cocoon and just continuing to just float and fly all around this region as this region continues to grow.
Nice, nice. So, when'd you first fall in love? Two-part question. When'd you first fall in love with higher ed? But then when did you first fall in love with higher ed leadership, which is kind of two different concepts, right?
Yeah, well, I fell in love with higher ed. I went to a triple HBCU, so I got my undergrad from a HBCU, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I got my master's degree from Coppin State University, and I got my doctorate from Morgan State University.
Nice.
And the program I was in at one point made the U.S. News World Report as one of the top doctoral programs in the nation.
Wow.
I always brag about Morgan because Morgan is a developmental institution, which means they will take you from knowing nothing about doctoral research and get you a dissertation and get you out. And so that was a marvelous experience. And I think when I went to University of Maryland Eastern Shore, UMES, it was a small school, very, very small. So it was 1,200 students. And the faculty knew when you cut class. They kind of embarrassed you. They called your name out across the campus when you weren't there. And you got, when you're at a small campus like that, you had an opportunity really to do any and everything that you wanted to do. And so I was, of course, on the SGA. I sung on a gospel choir. I did residence life. I ran the largest residence life facility. I ran 6 apartment buildings at one point when I was there.
Wow.
I was the senior class president. I mean, you got to do almost anything you want to experience. And so I think that experience alone made me fall in love with higher education. I got to see young, dynamic faculty teaching. I'm talking about faculty 26, 27, 28 years old with PhDs. I didn't really know what that was, right? I
Sure.
didn't know what a PhD was. So you're sitting there going, this is amazing, and I grew up in Baltimore County, probably in an environment that was 50% white, 50% black. So, but didn't I really have exposure to black faculty and black teachers really
Right.
in high school? So to get to a college and see, black intelligentsia, just kind of blew me out the water.
Mm.
I always tell this story about I didn't read a black novel until my freshman year of high school.
Wow.
So I knew this is really interesting. I knew black people wrote books, but I did not know black people wrote creative fiction, right? And
Right.
I didn't know that. And so the first book we read was The Bluest Eye by Miss Toni Morrison.
Okay.
And I started my career in undergrad as a business major. And after I read that book, I changed to be an English major
Oh,
after I read
wow.
that book. And so I was just stunned, like, this is amazing. Like, Black people write like this, you know? And so I ended up just loving English and everything. So that was kind of it. And then when I left there, this is amazing. I've still never found this piece of paper, but when I left my undergraduate experience, when I graduated, I wrote on a piece of paper, I'm going to be a college president.
Wow.
I have it. I know I have this paper somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I know I still have it. And I've been looking for it, and it's come full circle. You know, I think what also is amazing was when I lived in New York, I lived 3 miles from Toni Morrison.
Oh, wow.
And I had an opportunity to write a letter, and I thanked her for how she changed my life because I wasn't a bad student, but I wasn't a great student either in high school, right? I kind of
Yeah.
left high school with like a middle C average. High school was boring. I kind of was the class clown and everything. And then I got to college, and all of a sudden my light bulb turned on with that one experience with that novel, you know, and with a teacher that challenged me to think deeper and think longer and think harder. And you know, when you go to HBCU, that's how they do it. They make you jump and jump higher.
Sure.
And so that kind of turned me on to higher ed, and I went straight through all degrees, straight through, never stopped, and got a doctorate at 28, youngest doctoral student ever to graduate from Morgan State
Oh,
University.
wow. Congrats.
And so it was just that moment. And so I knew I wanted to be in higher ed. And I did this search for higher ed for a long time. I really couldn't land, I couldn't land. And I landed at Morgan right when I was doing the dissertation. And so I always say it was just this divine moment. And my dissertation advisor was 2 stories above me. And I used to just get on the elevator, go upstairs and see Dr. Smith. I used to see her and talk to her, and she'd go back, eat lunch, work on the dissertation. And it was just divinely ordained. I just believe that I got through the program and everything. And then here, this full circle moment. I'm now a college president. Took me a while, but it was fine. You know, you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be when you're
Right.
supposed to be there. That's what I tell people.
Absolutely.
Just hold on, hold on. I'm talking to people all the time about your time is coming, and there are institutions who are waiting on who you're going to become. And so you just have to wait your moment, but everything is lining up, right, for you to be in the seat that you're supposed to be in. And so I think that's kind of how I kind of got to where I'm supposed to be, and just love higher education, love exchanging with students, love seeing another light bulb turn on,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Because that's our work. Our work is if you just turn the light bulb on, you don't have to do anything but get out the way after that.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. So that's what I think I am, and what my journey has been.
Absolutely. So you've, I guess, throughout your career, one of the questions I often like to ask is how is, higher ed changed from, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago to now, right? How do you see it?
Um, Higher ed has not changed, right? Higher ed is a very static, boring, non-innovative industry that I am beating my head against every single day, right? Like we are still. I just did a presentation in Colorado. And do you know the credit hour, the 3 credit hour, the little credit hour we do was
Mm.
created 120 years ago, and we're
Wow.
still using the same model that it takes 45 hours to learn something for 3 credits. That's not true anymore, right? With information that is available, the speed of information, the speed
Sure.
of analysis of information that can be done by students, and we still are holding on to this traditional model from 120 years ago. It is
Wow.
devastating. But what has changed in higher ed is the student body continues to change. And what I always say is the very moment you think you have mastered the student body and you understand how they learn, you understand how to teach to them, how to take care of them, that is the moment they change, right?
Right.
And so we see a new group coming in post pandemic now.
Yep.
This is I think last year or the year before was the first group that went to high school all 4 years.
Yep.
Right before that, we had this mixed COVID group
Sure.
in and out, in and out. And you saw apathy. You saw them, they couldn't finish anything. You saw them obstacles, they give up. And now I'm seeing a different group of students on campus. I see them engaged. I go to events. It is packed at the event. They want more social engagement. So the student body continues to change over and over and over again. But I think higher ed is still very static in where it really needs to go. It needs to be much more dynamic, have much more elasticity to it.
Yep.
And yet we pride ourselves with our ivory towers, and you have to do it this way, and you have to meet with this person at this time. And it's just not the model that will continue to grow our industry. So I am very critical of higher ed that we're not adapting fast enough.
Absolutely. So I think, and this kind of segues right into, this is a topic you're passionate about, and we've been talking about a lot on the podcast, is the climbing back up the enrollment cliff.
Yeah.
So I would make the guess that you definitely believe that the enrollment cliff is real. You see it. But I'd love to hear you kind of unpack, how you see climbing back up the enrollment cliff.
We have a lot of variables, I think, against us in Western Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania in general is an old state, right? It's very old. Where I live, 70% of people that live in this county have no children in K through 12. 70%, right? No children in K through 12. And yet we're funding K through 12 systems. This county has not grown. In fact, it has shrunk the last 10 out of 11 years. It has gone down. And the school during the pandemic was at the 6th lowest enrollment in the history of the institution. And now we are last fall, we were the second fastest growing community college in the state. And this year, I think we're the third or fourth fastest growing community college in the state. And so we knew, I was consistent with the message, the variables are against us, and we believe a few things. When you come to a cliff, there's only a few things you can do. You can retreat,
Sure.
right? Go back. You can jump off the cliff if you choose, right? Or you can jump and you can fly, right? And with your wings, there's an African proverb that says your wings will appear and you will fly. And so we chose to jump and fly, right? And through the pandemic, most people were focusing on pandemic, and I was focusing on what are we going to become when the pandemic is over? This too shall pass, right? Everything will come to an end and move on. This too shall pass. And I said, so what are we going to become? And so we did this whole deep dive into guided pathways, into what programs need to come to an end, because academic programs are like products, and all products have a shelf life. All right. And so academic products have to come off the shelf, and something new has to go on the shelf. And so we were working on what new products need to come up. And so all of a sudden, when we came out of the pandemic, like everyone else, we had new programs, we had new structures, we had new strategies. Our campus looked new, we had new people, and we were marching forward. And that paid off for this institution, because we were ready to respond to you no matter where you were, if you were still living in the shadow of the pandemic or you really wanted to change your life. And I am pushing them again to do the same thing. What new programs need to come forward? And we moved. Also, we have a new campus in a new county that's below us. So we said we have to go outside also. We are the first college in the nation to be approved to teach aviation online across America. Right? Nobody is doing that. And so we're trying to find our place and our footprint for new markets. That's what you must do for new markets, or you must lift new programs that bring in new markets, or you must change your climate to ensure that students who are here stay and students who left come back. That's the three strategies. I don't care who's listening. Those are the three strategies that you've got to get to if you're going to get out of the enrollment cliff. Nobody has as many variables against them probably as we do, and we're still determined that we will step off this cliff and fly.
Sure. So as you climb up the cliff, and as you start to see that there's different demographics on campus than the traditional demographic, right? How do you service them? How do you create a culture to service them?
That's a great question, because that is very difficult. Now, I'm a type of president. I do MBWA. I manage by walking around.
Sure. Yep.
So I'm walking around all the time and I'm listening and I'm sneaking behind people. I'm sending people's places and telling them to come back and tell me what your experience was. And we are struggling. I'm going to tell
Right.
you, to have language to talk to an adult student is not the same language when you're talking to a 19-year-old,
Right.
right? And I'm seeing my institution struggle with how to engage and how to convert the different populations,
Sure.
right? We just started last week prison education, right? Took us 3 years to do it. Tough 3 years, but I'm so excited for them, right? But when that student leaves the prison and comes to that's a different conversation you're having. It's a different interaction with them than a student who traditionally went to higher ed, right?
Sure.
And so I think that is work that we have to do and we have to continue to do. It is not easy work to be able to talk to the different populations. And guess what? Everybody wants it personalized.
Right.
Everybody wants it personalized, right?
Right.
They want you to use their name. They want you to know their story. They want you to understand, I have children. I can't come at that time, right?
Right.
It is literally make it my way. It is the Burger King method here, right?
Right.
They want it, make it your way. That's hard to scale,
Sure.
right? But that is the expectation of this new student. And that's just a reality. And we're doing our best to do that in the best way that we can, right? And, that's changing teaching modality. Most of the institutions are recording the lectures still. They're doing hybrid. There's a lot of ways in which to individualize education for them. And we're trying our best to do that also here.
Absolutely. So I think, and we've been talking about this a lot lately too, right? As you address the cliff, as you climb up it, right, there's a culture change.
Mhm.
So change management becomes extremely important, right? Do you hire different? Is there a certain onboarding and training and support for the current staff, right? How do you execute on this, knowing to your point that higher ed can be pretty rigid?
Yes. So most people think here, I don't have unions. I have unions. I have two unions. I have a staff union and I have a faculty union. And when I got here, I had a very senior faculty, senior, tenured, full professors.
Sure.
And it's very difficult to get faculty many times to move into a direction, right, that you want them to move in, which sometimes is the best for the student. But faculty many times can be very resistant and be very territorial on, no, this is the way we've done it, and this is the way we should continue to do it. And so it takes a lot of visioning and revisioning of the faculty to say, no, we've got to do things differently. I wrote when I was here, I started here as the academic officer, and I wrote in this academic plan, I wrote, all faculty are going to be trained to teach online. Oh yeah, that sounded great. That wasn't worth the paper it was written on,
Right.
And I wrote that down because it really, at some level, was just pipe dream. When that pandemic happened, all faculty were trained to teach online, right? It was the
Right.
best gift ever to the institutions and to institutions probably around the world that had resistant faculty. All of a sudden, faculty knew they had to do something different. And so it became this change model. So once we did that, we went to a very interesting model where we adopted digital textbook. We were the first institution in Pennsylvania community college to adopt digital textbooks for 90 to 95% of our classes. At one point, our textbooks were probably like traditional $800, $900. Our textbooks are now one flat price of $189, I think, per year. And that's all your books are
Yeah.
189. And so we talk to the faculty one by one. Listen to the change management model. One by one, we pulled the faculty in individually. We showed them how the digital textbooks worked. We showed them textbooks that are your subject area. So if you taught math, here are the math. Look at this. The
Right.
fact you can switch this part out. You can take a chapter from just a pre-calc book and put it in this book, right?
Sure.
You can do all this magic and so the faculty, and so we would get one by one say yes, two, yes, three, yes. Once we got to 51%, we put the digital textbooks up for pushing forward to the student body.
Sure.
Then all of a sudden, students started realizing, oh, I can pay $800 oh, I can pay the $180 some and find the math teacher that teaches with the book that's in the 180, right?
Right.
So the group that said, no, I'm not moving, were driven to come over to digital textbooks because the students were picking the faculty that moved.
Exactly. Right.
And then all of a sudden, all the faculty swept into digital textbooks, and we'd been on digital textbooks for 5 to 6 years. And our refund for students who are full Pell Grant went from negative $200 to $1,200 refund a year because of just the textbooks alone. And in
Well
this
done.
$1,200 pays for babysitting, it pays for the tire on the car that went up,
Sure.
it pays for the battery that died. It is life changing for students to get $1,200 and be able to sustain throughout a semester.
Yep.
And so that was a huge change model for the college. And then I think what happened was you had the group of people who says, I can't do this anymore, right?
Mm.
And I always say there's nothing wrong with finding Disneyland.
Yep.
Disneyland is your happy place. It
Right.
doesn't have to be here.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be here at this college, right? And some chose to retire, some chose to move on to other places, but the group that was moving forward and said, I can do this, have stayed with us. I have a much younger campus now, which is challenging sometimes. Right. I have a lot of new employees, a lot of young people, very challenging that just want to change things overnight, and that's not how things work. But I'm seeing a culture, a campus culture where everybody is rowing for student success. And there's no longer these fractions of saying, well, I've been here 30 years and this is how we did it in 1980. I don't hear that anymore because that group had to move on because the future had arrived on our front step.
Absolutely. Nicely done. So, and then you touched on this earlier. One of the things you did was aviation program, right? Attract a different market.
Yeah.
Why aviation? How'd you think of that? And then how's that working out? Because that's a great program.
The aviation program is, first of all, the first program at the college. It is the signature program at the institution, other than probably our healthcare programs. But it's one of the first programs this college started 6 years ago. What I find interesting, we have pilots in every major carrier around the world, right?
Sure.
There are pilots everywhere. And we also have an air traffic control program. It is probably also the signature program in America. More air traffic controllers probably come from this institution probably than anywhere else. Okay.
Wow.
And so I talk about right in the middle of the pandemic, the federal government called for air traffic controllers, had to train more air traffic controllers. And they need air traffic controllers right now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's been a lot of
We can't produce them fast enough to issue. They need air traffic controllers right now. And so when the federal government called for the air traffic controllers, 88 of them went to Kansas to go to the introductory class. 66 of them came from CCBC, this college.
Wow.
Right. And when they tell you, we're the only school in America that has a live tower that is landing. Students are in that tower, landing and taking off planes at the airport here. And so these two programs together, you can become a professional pilot. You can stay on our campus. You can get your bachelor's degree. We have Southern Illinois University. They fly in on the weekend and teach at our campus. And so you can stay here and end up in a first captain chair before you're even 25, 26. And so we have our first student from years ago that started. We even have a high school academy. Students start flying in high school. You ready for this? They can fly a plane before they can drive a car.
Are you serious?
Yes. And so that's how young they're starting. They're 16, they're juniors in high school. We let them start the aviation program in high school. You can get a year of high school at our academy. And the academy, by the way, is all over America. So students are watching live all over, from Philadelphia to all states, watching live, taking our courses. And what they do, they fly locally with a local flight provider. So we have 14 flight providers in Pennsylvania, and our goal is to get flight providers all over America.
Sure.
You can teach it starting at the junior in high school, senior year, and then you finish your final year with us. And so our signature young man is, we love Peyton. His name is Peyton Start. Peyton Start started 16. He is probably 29 right now. He is international first captain pilot for Delta.
Oh, wow. That sounds fun.
Oh, can you, it makes more money than I make. He makes more than I make, you know. I mean, and, you know, I saw Peyton, he says I fly 4 times a month, international flight, and I'm done. Like, it is the career of all careers. Air traffic control has a mandatory retirement at 55 something. These are the careers that you want to do because you're going to
Absolutely.
be upper income. You're going to retire at a great age and live a marvelous, marvelous life. And so the college continues to build on our aviation program, and anyone can take it. I always say it's flyccbc.com. If you go to that, you'll see where you could fly, take our classes all over the United States.
Right, right.
And we'll help you find your flight provider, but that's how you get your associate's degree and then start how do you get into the aviation industry. We'll help you do that. But it is the signature program. And they're coming from all over the nation. You know,
Right.
most of them, by the way, are children of pilots. So
Got it.
the pilots know this is the school, so they send their children to us most of the time.
Absolutely. It sounds exciting, sounds great. And I know, when you're putting students in a position where they're going to be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, employment isn't guaranteed, but it's practically is, right?
Yeah. If you stay on the right path, yeah, if you stay on your pathway,
Yep.
you're getting into most
Can't miss.
a regional airline, you know, a
Yep.
little small one that takes your, and then you can move up into the big airlines. And the students are doing that. And that's what excites me. You know, I try to wear my hat or my jacket when I go to the airport because people stop you and like, I went to your school, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hey."
Nice. Absolutely. So, any other programs that you're thinking of launching to attract different markets
Yeah, well,
that you can share?
we just launched Vet Tech. I am so excited about Vet Tech because in Western Pennsylvania, the county below us, Washington County, probably has more farms than any county is around. And so I'm very excited about Vet Tech. And Vet Tech is not just cats and dogs, but it's small animals, it's goats, it's cows, it's everything.
Sure.
And so that program is very exciting. And then next year, I'm hoping to start sonography. We already have a rad tech program here for
Oh,
radiologic technology. We're hoping to start sonography, and we're looking at what are the industries. You know,
yep.
things are changing very quickly with this Trump administration. You're seeing Section 8 and TANF turned off, and it's either you go to work or you go to school.
Right.
So people need to move in place, but people have to move in place with short-term credentials, something
Sure.
that can get them to work under 6 months.
Yep.
And so that's what we're working on, right? There's a lot of work available in the health industry still. And so I think you'll see a lot of these short-term credentials in health as one of the main areas. And of course, also advanced manufacturing.
Yep.
We are just 2 miles away from one of the largest ethane cracker plants in the world, run by Royal Dutch Shell, Shell Gasoline Company, Royal Dutch
Sure.
Shell. And this is their first entry into plastics and creating plastics. And in the Appalachian region, we have the largest deposit of wet gas probably in the world.
Yep.
And so wet gas is pumped under the earth. It is heated at an extreme thing. It's turned into this chemical thing, and then it's cooled very quickly, and it makes
Right.
plastic, and it's cracked, and then it's made into the. I can explain the whole concept, but that's still existing. So we have plastics companies here now making plastics across America, and so process technology is one of our big programs that we're still pushing forward. We want to be just as big as they are in the southern part in the New Orleans region in Texas
Sure.
area. This is the area because anybody can do process. Process technology is everything. There's a process to make our suits.
Yep.
There's a process to make perfume. There's a process to make alcohol, right? There's a
Right.
process to destroy trash, right? And so process technologists are the people responsible for those processes and how they work. And so that's one of the big majors here also that we are going to continue to work on and push.
Your passion is palpable. One of my mentors taught me when I first, got into higher ed and admissions. He said, Kamar, we never want people to come to us and leave worse off than they were when they
Yeah,
came.
that's
And
right.
I can just feel that from you. Like
Yeah,
you're really trying to put them in courses and careers that look, if you do this,
that's
the
right.
opportunities are extraordinary and
That's
you have a great
exactly right.
chance to win.
That's exactly right. I was adopted off of a television show, and if you do the odds of being adopted off a television show to get into presidency, it's one in something, right?
Right.
And so I believe it's my responsibility to help someone else get another chance at life, because that was my chance at life, was that adoption by my parents, right? I went back and met my biological mother, and still living where they lived in the projects, I would have been in jail. And I know that. I know that based on how mischievous of a teenager I was. Right. And so, but there was another path for me. And
Sure.
I always tell people, when you get a degree, it never says when you start. It only says the completion date.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
all that matters. You get the degree or the credential. When you get the credential,
Absolutely.
that's all that matters.
Absolutely. So take us out on guided pathways, right? Tell me, what this is one of your passions. What
It
is it
is.
about? Unpack it for
Yes.
me.
So guided pathways for us is, we have this slogan here: start strong, stay strong, finish stronger.
Sure.
And if I go to a student now, I'm like, what's our theme? They're going to tell me start strong, stay strong, finish stronger. And it's everywhere on the campus. And so at certain points, we are in stay. We're getting ready to move to finish stronger, right? And so around the campus, there are all these signs about stay strong, right? And it is a formula. It is a specific formula on what start strong, stay strong, and finish stronger means. Start strong, of course, first of all, means you need an academic pathway, right? In the past, when I went to school, you could do a lot more experimentation and try to find yourself. You know how people did,
Mhm.
and you changed your major four
Yep.
times. You can't do that now. You need to get on an academic pathway and know the career that you want to pursue, or whatever goal you want to pursue in life. You need to know that when you start, right?
Yep.
And I'm not saying you have to know it 100%, but you pretty much need to be in the 70 or 80% on what you need to do. And so our first responsibility is to get you on an academic pathway. The pathway should show you from credential, whatever credential you're getting. It could be a certificate, right? It could be a course, right? It
Sure.
could be a degree. Where does that lead you to either transfer to get more education, or to employment? How do you get there? Because those are the two pathways. It's either transfer or it's employment. Okay.
Yep.
And so that's where we start. What academic pathway do you need to get on, and where is it going to take you? So if you want to be a um, oncologist nurse, right? Oncological nurse, you have to figure out what is the next school that has that program, right? You have to figure that out in advance, because what you take here has to align with what you're going to transfer your credits to there. So we're working on all that at all times.
Yep.
It also means you must be ready the first day of class, right? I always say what they say in the South: to be early is to be on time, to be on time is to be late, and to be late is unacceptable, right? And so I'm telling them these are some of the standards, right? You must know how to sign in to your online class and to your email. We communicate with your email. We are literally telling them this is the basic form. We tell all students, here are the 5 things you must do. Then
So
when we get to stay, we talk about, here are the resources that you need to be able to stay strong, right? There is tutoring, there is mental health, there is a food pantry, there is a clothes pantry, there is people who will work on your career, help you with your resume, help you with interviewing. If you're going to stay strong, you need to do that. You need to know how to read the syllabus, how to be able to turn in your assignments from the syllabus. You need to be ready. Don't be like I was in English class. The teacher said 6 weeks in, turn in your papers. We're all looking at each other like, what papers do? The paper that was in the syllabus, because nobody
right.
read the syllabus, right? And so, we're coaching them. College should no longer be when I went to college, which was figure it out. They cannot figure, the generation is not going to figure out. You should be telling them this is how you figure it out. So we put the formula up. The formula is not guesswork. We are telling you what to do, when to do, and how to do it so you are successful. And then finish stronger is always, how do you transfer, or how do you go to the world of work? And so we've laid this pathways out.
Mm.
That's why it's guided. Here it's guided. It's guided. Yeah, guiding you through this pathway. So when you get to the end result, you have reached the goal that you're aiming to reach. And all of a sudden, I give you a great outcome. Last year in new student orientation, probably 50% of students knew how to sign in, find email, find.
Yep.
This year, 90% of our students knew how to find the email, how to sign in
Nice.
through their class. They were ready to go before the first day of school. And I'm like this, it's finally worked. So those are the things that we are trying to put in front of every student, so every student has the same strategy for success.
Yep. And you touched on another really key point. Tony Bourne from Toledo was talking about this on the podcast. We're talking about the enrollment cliff. Some people call it demographic cliff, but he was saying that COVID has kind of forced higher ed to prove its value or earn the student in a different way than it had
That's
historically.
right.
But to your point, that support, this generation, for whatever reason, needs more support. And it seems like you've keyed on that from a motivational, inspirational, but then it's not just in the win; it's actually a process, as you
That's right.
said. To
It's
how, yeah,
prescribed. It's
yep,
prescribed. Right.
yep,
It is. It is clearly prescribed. And if the students just hang with us on the prescription, you're going to do it correctly. Even if you're in trouble,
yeah,
we're coming to your support. What do you need from us to get you to do this? Even sometimes if it is start again,
yep,
right? It's okay. Sometimes it's okay. I got to start again. Right. Okay. Well, let's stop now and figure out how to start again and make sure that we still get to the finish line. But we are seeing a new world that I think is very mean, and you will be left behind.
yes,
You are going to be left behind if you do not see, if you're not paying attention to what's happening in this world, you're going to be left behind, and there's no one coming to save you. You have to say, what does Oprah say? No, Susie, no one's coming.
yep,
No one's coming to save you. This is the moment that people have to be paying attention and move in place, or you will be left behind.
yeah. I think Edward Deming said your survival or your success is not mandatory.
That's
And
right.
like you said, it's
Oh,
brutal, but
it's a brutal reality. It's just a brutal reality. And while, as a Christian man, it hurts my heart, but I clearly understand what is happening. And I'm telling people, you have got to do what it takes to survive and get in front of it. If you can even get in front of it, it's even better, right? We know what's coming down the line. We're seeing these nonprofits are not going to be able to keep up, right? You have got to move in place and move in place quickly.
absolutely. So, what does it look like? We used to say 10, 15 years in the future if higher ed's getting it right, but we're in a microwave, society now. The singularity is near. So, what does it look like 2, 3 years from now if higher ed's getting it right?
I've been struggling with that. I've been on a few think tanks with people. I have a call that I take with a CEO of another company. We talk monthly about the future of higher ed.
Sure.
And so much is coming at us so quickly with AI, with accountability, to tell you the truth, of even what's happening now in the online classroom. There's so much more accountability. What I'm hoping, and I'm going to push this. I'm even hoping a new standard comes out for accreditation across the nation that talks about innovation,
Right.
right? That would be amazing, right? We're always, our accreditation models kind of do checklist models, but it really needs to be more showing that you're still innovating and you're still doing things that make the student um, can get through this process even better. I'm hoping to see, because everyone carries a cell phone. I've been talking about this. You can learn at any time, anywhere, right?
Yep.
So higher ed is still a very formal, like even signing in the classroom,
Right.
and do your assignment on this day from this day. And I'm hoping to see in the future more of this. The phone knows where you are, right? The phone knows you're sitting down, maybe I'm gonna make up something at the DMV, right? And all of a sudden, it delivers a 4-minute lecture to you with an assessment because it knows you have 4 minutes to sit here,
Yep.
right? Right. That's what I'm hoping to see that's tied to learning, right? Because learning can be anywhere, anytime. I'm hoping to see an assessment on business math. It knows you're in the supermarket, and it makes you do a business math concept with the supermarket live, right?
Mm.
Take a picture of an item right now. Okay, now I'm going to give you, we already studied this concept. Now I want you to answer this question as it relates to this object, because AI can do that, right? AI can see the object, it can come up with create something. That to me is going to be where we're going to go to demonstrate that true learning is occurring. Right. Historically, true learning is just rote. I remembered some facts. And if you were a good test taker and can remember a lot of stuff, you did well. That
Right.
doesn't mean you can apply it. That doesn't mean that you can put it into the world of work. And so I'm hoping to see higher ed do this, of evolve how we teach and learn. And I'm thinking it's more just in time learning, but it's just in time learning with the environment that you live in. That's
Right.
been my vision and dream that I've been trying to push out. Like, it's got to be that, because we're all living with a mini computer, right? We all have a mini computer at all times with us. And
Sure.
how do we use this mini computer to be more and more powerful, as along with AI that's coming forward, and along with people challenging us to really show that assessment is really occurring?
Absolutely. Well, I can't think of a better place to end it than right there. Dr. Davis, you were amazing. I love your insight, heartfelt. Are you on LinkedIn, Instagram? Are you writing any novels? Anything you want to promote? Go
Oh,
ahead and share with our audience.
I've heard about two things. So I'm on LinkedIn, lead, serve, teach, and at LinkedIn, lead, serve, teach. I believe you should, as a leader, you should lead, you should serve, and you should teach. So that's my handle there. And I always push my book. I wrote a book during the pandemic. Well, I closed the book during the pandemic. That book sat with me for over 20 years, but it's called The 30 Most Powerful Words in the English Language. And I hope you'll get a chance to just go get it and look at it. It's a very inspirational book, and it's been with me a long time, and I finally pushed it out for the world to see. And there's just 30 words in there that I think can change your life. And one of the words is a word that you will use for yourself. I say, what is the word for you? And so that's the one I'd like to plug. But I still wish everyone the best. Like I always say, I just believe that the best is yet to come.
Absolutely. Take care, my friend. This was awesome.
Thank you so much.